Balancing the Books. A Punch Girl Short Story by J. M. Riley. Chapter 1. Alec peers into the mailbox, and except for the single item inside, everything in the world disappears. He expected mail or no mail. This is a surprise third option, and it dares Alec to reach inside. The staring contest lasts another 20 seconds, and Alec closes the mailbox without disturbing its new inhabitant. He re-enters the house and finds Jess in the kitchen, mirroring his bent posture in front of the refrigerator, searching. He hesitates and says, "There's not anything weird in there, right?" Without raising her head, Jess says, "Define weird. Everything is expired or about to expire. Do pickles even go bad? Aren't they already pickled? What's the matter? What happened?" He tried to keep a blank expression and a neutral tone, but he must have failed. Jess's head turns, and her eyes crinkle with concern. "You're pale, and your mouth is doing that drooping thing. I have to show you something." "Is it bad?" "You can look and tell me." "What is it? Is it on you, like a growth?" "It's outside." Alec leads Jess to the mailbox, checks to make sure he wasn't hallucinating before, and wishes he was. He steps aside, and with an open hand offers Jess a view. Inside the mailbox, alone, silent, and inert, but as threatening as a live cobra, stands a single bullet. Jess glances at Alec and returns her eyes to their new delivery. "Yeah, that's bad." Chapter 2. 2 weeks earlier. Alec Baum, CPA, was supposed to grant freedom. Unshackled from corporate accounting, Alec's pathways would open, allowing the unhindered flow of energy and creativity. He would choose the clients he wanted, work on the projects worthy of his effort and intellect, and his time would be 100% his. An indie accounting rock star, shifting numbers and aligning them in magical ways, dazzling his clients, the spotlight awaited. This office would become the home office as satellites popped up in the state and around the country to meet the demand of shrewd clientele hoping to employ the Baum method. Universities would ask him to speak, commencement addresses, seminars, interviews, autographs. "How did you do it, Mr. Baum?" "Well, I'll tell you. It's been an adventure." Some adventure. Alec returns from his daydream to the reality of his spare 250-square-foot box. His rented desk abuts a white wall identical to the other three, except for the room's single decoration, his framed CPA certificate. 2 hours of sunlight enter through plastic vertical blinds each day, returning to gray shadow as the taller surrounding structures take their turns in the warmth. Alec's meager surroundings encouraged him at first. Many successful enterprises relish the lore of their early days in garages, bedrooms, and vehicle back seats, and Alec wanted a legend of his own. Now, the walls close in, and rather than his growth eclipsing them, the opposite is true. They threaten to devour him and his infant business, because he has lost another client. Business axioms bash inside his head. It's 5 times costlier to gain a new client than to retain an existing one. Plan your work and work your plan. Nail it, then scale it. If I had known how hard it would be, I never would have done it. Elementary schools should adopt that last one and teach it through high school. It's such an old chestnut, and entrepreneurs are so eager that the words have lost their meaning. For Alec, it means never-ending minutiae that require his full attention and have nothing to do with accounting. Licensing, registrations, insurance, certifications, professional associations, websites, folders, pamphlets, printing, design, leases, furniture. On and on, a cascade. It also means credit card debt and a developing fear of phone calls. At the end of all this, instead of a gleaming city standing by to celebrate him and hand him a ceremonial key, a black amorphous mass grins and licks its lips with its mottled tongue. Its name is shame, and it beckons Alec while tipping the road lower to make his walk effortless. Alec stands and stretches, chuckling to himself. These thoughts are nothing new. He spends a portion of each day reminding himself how ineffectual he is, but he always tempers his lashings with the truth. Sometimes clients walk, and in this case, it's the state's fault, not his. His client requires an internal audit conducted by a certified third party, and Alec lacks the certification. The same would be true if they wanted a certified financial analysis. Alec understands investing and portfolio management, but that's a specialty, and while he can advise, he cannot certify with the state. Additional certifications cost money and time, and Alec planned to acquire them later, if later ever came. The second truth is he could have stayed with his previous firm, where he was miserable. They treated him and everyone else like the replaceable cogs they were, unconcerned with wear or reward and treating employment itself as the prize. They dangled advancement and perks, but most never reached a level anywhere near the golden life of executive bathrooms and golf course lunches. If Alec had stayed, he would have accepted the trade-off of never trying for more. What's the point of that life? Either way, he loses, and laughter or tears present themselves as his two choices. With a grin, Alec exits his office and walks the quiet building hallway, past the closed office doors, to the floor's shared kitchen. He removes a Diet Coke from his area of the fridge, cracks the tab with a satisfying fizz, and drinks a third of the can in one go. Back in his office, Alec settles at his desk, facing his laptop, and clicks open a folder. Losing one client, not his fault, doesn't mean he has no others, and of course it's 5 times less costly to blah 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 and not blah blah blah. Within minutes, Alec's surroundings fade, and he and the numbers begin their dance. Several corporate clients face quarterly reporting deadlines, and thanks to federal and state standardization, Alec can process multiple returns at once. He clicks several more folders and aligns the forms in client documents, and his hands and his mind work in unison. Numbers move, shifting and transferring, referencing sums and shuttling information. Like cells in a bloodstream, the data particles nourish and cleanse and report new data, keeping the corporate body healthy and alerting the gatekeepers of potential warning signs. Hours pass unnoticed, and Alec's soul harmonizes with the universe. He is good at this, so good. It is what divine creation placed him here to do, so when one instrument in his orchestra of data clangs out of tune, he notices. If he were working on a single return, he might have missed it, but with several documents open at once, the contradiction glares in garish neon. A local restaurant chain has inflated equipment costs, inventory loss, and vendor payments, and the numbers won't connect. Lose some stuff, buy replacements. The costs should mirror one another, but these numbers are nowhere near the same house, much less the same mirror. Even accounting for inflation, these disbursements look more like balloon payments. To who? Alec traces the funds to the individual vendors listed on the invoices, but he has heard of none of these companies. A quick Google search confuses him further. The companies exist, but they present almost no footprint. He opens a browser window and several tabs and searches the SEC and the FASB databases, and unsatisfied, he checks the records at the IASB, the International Accounting Standards Board. Bloomberg taxes and checkpoint services complete the emerging picture, and Alec leans back to study his findings. These are shell companies under a larger shell umbrella positioned overseas. Why would a local restaurant chain need a sophisticated network to conceal cash flow? That question falls outside the scope of Alec Baum, CPA's fiduciary duties. What he found is an irregularity, not an illegality, and he could complete his analysis, submit the forms, and accept his payment, shielded from prosecution for his compliant actions. What fun would that be? Chapter 3. By nature, Alec exercises caution, so fun is not a compelling driver for him. Instead, his rational mind takes over and tells him that any outside investigation he performs falls under due diligence. The more he understands about his client's business, the better he can help them and the more valuable he becomes. A valuable financial advisor, one who can keep a secret, is worth more than the standard accounting fee. Alec Baum, CPA, may have stumbled across an additional revenue stream. The black intervals in the white vertical blinds mean that day transitioned to night while Alec was working, so he tidies the other returns, staging them for completion tomorrow, and leaves for the night, eager for the next day. After a mellow night at home with Jess, he wakes refreshed, filled with purpose, and arrives at the office energized. He completes the last check of the accurate returns and submits them, clearing space for today's investigation. Overnight, conflicting thoughts battled for dominance in his mind. In the first, the restaurant appreciated his initiative and rewarded it with praise, a bonus, and an introduction to businesses with similar needs. Careful to avoid wrongdoing, Alec could construct a firewall between himself and his new clients, protecting both. The optimism warmed Alec, and he welcomed it. The second thought fought back, and it played dirty. That's why they hired you. They knew you'd miss it. He caught it, though. You're small and weak enough to ignore it. True, but he can still investigate. Whether he speaks up is a question for later, and Alec hoped that later would at least come after lunch. Instead, he had all the information he needed within 2 hours. The restaurant chain is laundering money through fake food and equipment suppliers. They are taking part with or without their explicit consent, which cannot shield them either way, but the single infraction is not the problem. Alec's stomach cramped when he realized the scope. Multiple businesses of many varieties across the city are making payments through similar channels. Dozens are paying through shell companies Alec now recognizes, and unfamiliar names continue to populate the list. They share the method and destination. All the money is going to the same overseas umbrella shell company. Alec's excitement for the day drains like a cracked tub. He can wrap his arms around one company's tax fraud, no matter how elaborate, and he could turn it to his advantage. This isn't one company, though. It's many. Too many. They must know, which means they are organized. This is organized crime, sophisticated international money laundering, hollowing the city tax base. He should report it. It's not fair. How many of those businesses are victims? How many are like him, clawing to survive? Or are they complicit in getting rich? Is everything broken? Does corruption seep into every single thing and corrode it? If they offered him riches for conscience, would he accept? Success for permanent indenture? He wants to say no, draw a hard black line, which he will never cross, but his wavering infuriates him. Pure weakness. Even in private, he can't stand his ground. If he performs his duty and accepts his payment in oblivious silence, his client will hire him again. That trust bond transfers to his other clients too. Is that not how a business is built? Doesn't it cost 5 times less to retain an existing client? No one wants to hire a whistleblower, a financial snitch, someone who can expose the books? Forget it. At home that night, Jess asks before dinner, during and after what's bothering Alec, and he lies. He says he's tired, distracted, busy. Don't worry. Later that evening, Alec climbs into bed, and Jess lowers her iPad and stares at him. What? Alec says. Are you going to brush your teeth? I did. Didn't I? My God, if you don't tell me what's the matter with you, I'm going to haunt you all night. Alec squints at Jess. What would that look like? Every time you fall asleep, I'll make just enough noise to wake you up. And then what? It doesn't sound like much, but trust me, it's exhausting. You'll be begging to talk to me. So, it's not a sex thing. Jess chuffs a laugh. Are you serious? I don't do sex things with people who neglect their oral hygiene. That's good. I was worried I'd have to reject you. Jess laughs, but when Alec fails to join her, she stops. You're serious. Alec sits forward, and for the next 5 minutes spills what he learned about his clients, the city, the world, and himself. He finishes with a simple question. What should I do? What do you want to do? All of it, none of it. I want to do my job and nothing more. Is that so much to ask? No, it isn't. What do I do? Jess pauses for several moments and says, I can't tell you that. This is way bigger than you, and it could hurt you in the short run. How do you live with it, though? Who are you then? That would harm you in the long run. It's like when you started the business. There are no easy choices. Why? Everyone else has easy choices. Jess shrugs rather than argue. Alec is wrong, but emotion is speaking for him. I can tell you this, like the business, whatever you decide, I'm here. I'll support you either way, and we'll be fine. How can you say that? How will we be fine? You're in a house, talking about a business you own, and you're in bed with me. I dare you to go back in time and try to tell teenage Alec Baum that this isn't heaven. He wouldn't be able to get past the girl in his bed. You'd better not get past it either. I'm way out of your league. Alec responds with raised eyebrows and a nod. Sleep on it. You'll make the right call. Chapter 4. He decides to let it go. Trouble comes when it wants to. There is no need to buy extra, so the next day Alec completes the restaurant's return and submits it. With the weight of decision lifted, Alec returns to his usual mundane duties, but over the next several days, during break times and between assignments, he wanders back to the money laundering operation. There's no danger now. He already signed and tendered his work. The client paid. Any research he performs now is for professional education. The further he digs, though, the more of the operation he uncovers, and perhaps more disturbing than what he finds is how much remains concealed. The branching lines connect construction, retail, and legitimate businesses in every sector. Property management appears, and if Alec had to bet money, he would wager his landlord is involved. That realization walks chilly fingers over his forearms. It's close to home. It also renews his image of himself as a pawn. They could have been watching him. The construction angle leads to government offices and city officials. Certain companies secured fast-track permits and gained lucrative footholds around the city. Malls, roads, schools, hospitals. The money moves and no one sees it. Big money. A public records inquiry clarifies the picture, but Alec is the only one with the cipher, so no matter how defined the individual pieces are, the law protects them from coming together. The irony tickles Alec because it's life in a nutshell. He sees all, but the license that opened his vision clamps his mouth shut. Several events escape Alec's vision, and he only recognizes them after he receives his special delivery in the mail. Over the past couple of weeks, 2 potential new tenants toured his floor in search of office space. Strange cars came and went from the office garage at the same times as Alec. Wrong numbers and unresponsive callers rang his phone. His contact at the restaurant company asked him to lunch. The individual occurrences passed without notice, random and unconnected, but the bullet dragged them into the spotlight in a perfect tiny package topped with a massive red warning, "Stop what you're doing right now." That's bad, Jess says, stepping away from the open mailbox and removing her phone from her pocket. Alec says, "Who are you calling?" "The police. Someone came to our house and threatened you. Maybe they left fingerprints on the bullet or the mailbox. They need to check it out." "You're not afraid?" "Not of the police." The 911 operator routes Jess's call to the nearest police station, where the call transfers from the evening desk sergeant to a robotic detective with the voice of a 13-year-old. The multi-step path forces Jess to explain herself 3 separate times, answer the same questions in the same order, and gain an appreciation for Alec's fear of the police, if not for their menace, for their lack of urgency. They are killing her with disinterest. The detective ends the call, promising to send someone to investigate and instructing her to stay home, close the blinds, and lock the doors. 3.5 hours later, a knock rattles the house, shaking the front door in its frame. Alec answers the knock and resists the urge to laugh. The police officers the department sent to investigate share a joint age less than his. They still have acne. Alec imagined Columbo. Grizzled, experienced, trench coat, hat, notepad. Instead, these two could trade their uniforms for letter jackets and have no problem infiltrating the high school senior dance. The officers enter the house, and Alec and Jess repeat the same story for a new audience. The bullet was there. They didn't see anyone. They have no enemies. They also have no security cameras that witnessed and recorded the delivery. But what a discovery that would have been. All the officers had to do was ask, reminding the dopey homeowners, and the case would close itself. After 45 minutes of tedious back and forth, Alec walks the officers to the door with one valuable nugget of information. He is on his own. Unless that bullet fires and hits something, all hands are tied. He returns to their small living room and plops onto the couch next to Jess. That was a total waste of everyone's time. Jess nods, and after a few moments she says, "Did you do a public record search, or was it a request?" "You're thinking that's what triggered this?" "It depends." "I didn't file a Freedom of Information Act request. It wasn't a demand, but I had to give my email to get the records." "Bomb CPA email?" Alec's mouth tightens. Jess says, "I'm not blaming. I just want to know. You were digging and they tracked you down. You had no way of knowing they were watching their backs or that they would react like this." Alec says, "It is an overreaction, right?" "To me, not to them. They may see you as a bigger fish than you are, a financial authority who could cooperate and testify against them." "I'm a little fish, though, like krill." "Krill are crustaceans." "Fine, then I'm a shrimp. The point is, a whale opens its mouth and sucks in all the food it can. It wouldn't go after a single krill. Unless it thought the krill was something bigger." Alec blinks at Jess. "I'm trying to get out of this. Why are you arguing with me?" Jess's face pinches, holding back bad news. "I think you're in it now. You don't have a choice." Chapter 5. An argument erupted, but after a late and stressful evening, no one had the energy, so the squabble fizzled to silence. Without saying it, Jess and Alec agreed on the main point anyway. They are afraid. What to do about that is a separate question. By morning, after a fitful sleep, Alec settled on two options: fight or run. He would rather run, but the figurative flight involves communicating to his antagonist that he is no threat, that he is a shrimp and not a barracuda. A brief call to his contact at the restaurant company led nowhere, and the path dead-ended after that. With no way to explain that he wants nothing to do with secret criminal business, he remains a target, stuck in place, unable to flee and left with one choice: get involved in secret criminal business. He must protect himself and Jess. Arriving at his office, already fatigued, he sets aside all Alec Baum CPA tasks and works through the day, into the night, and through to the next morning. As always, the numbers call to him, and when he answers, time slips away. Current spreadsheets spawn new ones, and vendor payments, tax filings, and banking transactions across dozens of enterprises speak to each other, filling gaps in equations and tallying corresponding cross-reference sums. Errors resolve, and rigid mathematical order corrals the chaos. With a worn textbook and the internet at hand, Alec builds a forensic matrix illustrating the cash flow from dirty money to clean. Illegitimate funds enter the system at multiple legitimate points. Cash-heavy and expense-laden businesses like restaurants, car washes, and construction accept the deposits, commingle the funds with their own, report the earnings, which they verify through inflated invoices, and non-existent material expenses to empty shell companies, and disperse the clean income into new investments like landscape projects and real estate, which may be lawful or not, further obscuring the operation. The front companies, the car washes, and others participate with or without their consent, and the operation ensures their continued engagement in three ways. The payoffs come first, and they disappear the fastest. A struggling business agrees to accept deposits for a fee, which leads it to the second shackle, complicity. The payments stop, replaced by the threat of reporting. A business owner could protest, claiming mutually assured destruction, and he may be correct, but his business will burn first, taking the full heat and scrutiny of the Justice Department while the shell companies disappear. The final tether is desperation. The operation launders illegal outside cash, but it also skims from its fronts. Through phantom vendors, the shell companies create inflated invoices and pocket the difference, dispersing the additional funds into offshore accounts. So, a restaurant that owes $30,000 per month to a legitimate supplier instead pays $50,000 to Metro Food Services, who then pays the vendor with the extra $20,000 vanishing. The restaurant owner dangles alone and exposed, scraping to meet costs and stay alive with the looming threat of bankruptcy, exhaling hot breath on the back of their neck. 17 separate businesses and counting feed Alec's matrix. They connect through matching bank relationships and identical invoice patterns, and Alec's accounting mind marvels at the simplicity and efficiency of the trap while the human being in him fumes. The people caught in this operation have families and lives and responsibilities. They have people counting on them, watching them, judging them, and their weakness made them targets. Alec Baum, CPA, is one of them. Alec is one of them. Add it to the list of grievances in an unfair world. The rich get richer, and they use their influence to change the rules so no one else can enter the game. Licensed small businesses cannot compete, so what kind of moron would even try? With the information and models in front of him, Alec's basic accounting background does the rest. The broadened, delineated scheme violates multiple statutes of generally accepted accounting principles, and each signature on each return creates a separate bushel of federally prosecutable offenses. Many signatures repeat, multiplying the infractions, and while each violation carries a modest penalty, the total sum of punishable years is staggering. Anyone faced with an official inquiry would run for cover. A prosecution team would follow the money, so Alec does the same and lands on Meridian Community Bank. A mid-sized institution flying under federal regulatory radar, Meridian accepts large cash deposits and wire transfers without triggering currency transaction reports. That's unusual, even for a smaller bank. All banks employ sophisticated money laundering detection systems, backstopped by the federal government, and Meridian somehow missed the memo. By the time he pulls back the full curtain, Alec wishes he had never seen past the barrier at all. 2 of Meridian's board members own stakes in shell companies on Alec's list. Meridian isn't failing to report suspicious activity. They are facilitating it, and through their enhanced privacy service, available to select customers, they rearrange deposits to keep them below federal reporting thresholds. Worse, Meridian's compliance officer has signed many of the fraudulent vendor contracts affecting the front businesses. Alec thought he was peeking at a candle flame, but an unobstructed lighthouse lantern has blasted his retinas clean. What started as a look at organized crime has exploded into a RICO-level conspiracy, a systematic corruption of the financial system, and Alec fears what he'll find if he climbs higher up the money ladder. Where does Meridian send its cash? The blurry fuzz around Alec's vision tells him it's time to rest, so he backs up his work, collects his laptop, and drives home. Tomorrow he will summarize his report and decide what to do. The next morning, Alec opens the door to his ransacked office, and the single upright object in the room gleams at him. A rifle bullet, far larger than the one in his mailbox, sits in his chair. Chapter 6. The inanimate bullet stares at Alec, and Alec stares back. The copperjacket smiles, bullying him, daring him to enter. Alec forces his legs to engage, and he leans forward but halts. A soft whir brushes his ear, and Alec turns his head to the sound. The whir rises and stops. The elevator. Whoever searched his office found nothing because everything was on his laptop. Did they come back? Did they follow him here? Were they watching? Frozen in place, Alec listens for the mundane voices of his office neighbors or their unhurried morning footsteps. But multiple footfalls, heavy and purposeful, march toward him. They close half the hallway distance in a blink. Alec doesn't need to force his legs to move this time. They engage on their own and hustle him to the stairwell. Behind the closed door, Alec hesitates and listens for voices, but grunts and thuds are all he gets. A brief silence follows, and he and his pursuers realize his mistake at the same time. He left the office door open. They know he's here. Alec hustles up the concrete steps, quieting his loafers without trading too much speed, and exits on the floor above. He has used this route before for different purposes, and with footsteps pounding up the stairs behind him, he must choose. On certain days, Alec surrenders and leaves early, but to avoid the scrutiny of his neighbors, he traverses the upper floor and exits through the opposite stairwell into the garage. It's childish, but a single comment, taking a half day, can tip his mood, and he would rather avoid it. The other purpose is the bathroom. Waylon, his neighbor across the hall, makes noises in the stall, and if Alec is sitting next to him, he can't go. Also, Waylon is a talker. If they cross paths in the restroom, Waylon will keep him there with something pertinent, and Alec has learned to avoid the entire scene. 2 floors above, the largest suite is under construction, so no one uses the facilities there. Boom, private bathroom. The men behind him could be watching his car, so Alec opts for the bathroom. At this time of the morning, the builders haven't arrived, so Alec sprints full speed and disappears through the opposite stairwell door, heading up instead of down, while the closed office doors slow his pursuers as they check each one. Upstairs, Alec locks himself in a stall, lifts his feet out of sight, and begs his heart and lungs to calm down. The silence unnerves him more than his ragged breath. He imagines stealthy special operators entering the room, standing outside the stall door, counting down to attack, and he braces. But no attack happens. Instead, the elevator whirs. They're coming. Alec pulls his laptop from his bag and flips it open, intending to forward his unedited report to the FBI, but he has no address. He also has no connection. The whirring elevator stops, and Alec slaps the laptop closed. They'll trap him in here. He hustles from the bathroom and opens his laptop, holding it in one hand like a cocktail server. Each business in the building has its own router, and many don't bother with password security, so if Alec can access one, he can send his packet. He taps the Wi-Fi list on his screen, and all the nearby networks require passwords. Around a corner, the elevator door opens and footsteps march out. Alec takes a few steps toward them, but no new unprotected networks appear on his screen, so he retreats. He scurries through the drop cloths and plastic dust barriers blocking the hallway and enters the bare construction area. Drywall, scaffolding, and uncovered windows offer no concealment. Alec rushes to a window, passing the mounted trash chute leading to a dumpster on the street, and calculates, yes, the fall will kill him. A drop from half the distance would break every bone in his body, but a new network appears. Weak, but unsecured. It's from the coffee house across the street, but the signal is so weak Alec's laptop won't connect. Behind him, office door handles rattle between deliberate footsteps. Alec pleads with the gods for a Wi-Fi connection, but the gods respond as they always do, with silence. 30 seconds, a minute tops, and he will be begging for more than a Wi-Fi connection. He searches the bare construction space and finds a steel mallet lying on a scaffold. He rushes to it, grabs it, and heaves the twirling tool through one of the new plate glass windows. Through the shattered hole, he thrusts his laptop and the Wi-Fi connects. The FBI.gov page loads, and Alec sends the file to the first address he sees, the Public Information Office. Good enough. When he turns, 2 sets of angry eyes meet his. 2 men block the doorway, and Alec runs. Later, he will not recall deciding or taking the action, but he dived into the trash chute, crashed into the debris in the dumpster, and limped to the coffee house covered in drywall dust, where he called the police and Jess. After a trip to the clinic and a debrief with a detective worthy of Alec's imagination, Jess had him repeat his story for her several more times, and she laughed harder at each one. Alec exits the bathroom at home and says, "Why is that funny?" "Gee, I don't know. Hiding in your secret pooping spot? Diving out the window into a dumpster? It beats the hell out of my day." "They could still come after us." "Did you send the file? Did it go?" "Yeah." "Then you're off the hook. Congratulations. You're a shark after all." Chapter 7. Within days, the FBI made several splashy arrests across organized crime and financial institutions, citing a long-running investigation. When the press pushed for more details, the FBI credited an anonymous tip. The investigators charged many of the business owners that Alec listed among his front companies and exonerated others, including his restaurant client. They were victims, not perpetrators, and even though Alec did not know any of this when they hired him, he accepted the news as positive. After a few more days, the wheels of justice continued their slow, fine grind, and attention moved on, including Alec's. He wanted resolution, a satisfying sum, but he would not get it. The tally he got was as ugly as a car crash. He made no extra money. In the rosiest outlook, he cost himself at least one client, and he put himself in ongoing danger. Sure, he did a job, and he felt good about it. He stood up for himself, and even Jess declared him a shark. But the crustacean feeling returned. What did he accomplish? The final gut punch came a few weeks later. Alec enters his office focused on the swarm of tasks ahead for the day, and in his email inbox finds an inquiry. The initial thrill dumps adrenaline into his heart, but the rush cools. He recognizes the structure and scope. He has seen this before, this exact setup. They're back at it. It took a few short weeks, and they're back up and running. Money laundering, scheming, and they want to reclaim him. They want him to stick his foot in the trap. Nothing changes. No one takes responsibility. Instead, they push everything down onto the little guy, and with his narrow shoulders, the little guy carries the burden, or he breaks and disappears beneath the load forever. It never stops. It never changes. Alec deletes the email and pauses. One thing changed. They came for him, and he fought them off. He carried the burden. That's not nothing. The end